What's going on, guys? It's SquireTrades here, back with a new episode. Today is July 14th, 2025 at 1:51 p.m. Central Standard Time. Currently at my fiance's parents' house hanging out for the week, so I'll be on my mobile setup, so forgive me if anything seems off. But today we have something very important to talk about, and that is the concept of jabs and hooks. This is something my trading partner and I have been working on for kind of a while now, and it's basically just a way in which you can approach risk management. So you're asking yourself, what's a jab and what's a hook, right? If you think about this in traditional boxing terms, and forgive me as I'm not a boxer, so this analogy could be rough, right? Jabs are meant to be quick. Quick, in and out, get a feel for things. You want to gauge distance, timing, etc., right? And a hook, you're swinging for the ropes. You're swinging for the ropes. You want to maybe hit a one punch KO. Much more, I'd say this is a much more committed swing than a jab, right? And obviously, this isn't to talk about boxing. This is to talk about trading. This is how you can view kind of risk management in general. And then I'm going to cover two other things that we consider as a part of our risk management, right? And those two things are inflow out of flow. Inflow, this is like timing is perfect, winning consistently, following rules, and kind of just feels like where you tell it to. Out of flow, you can kind of just do the opposite of these, right? Timing is off, losing at a higher percentage, breaking a rule or two. Maybe you didn't get great sleep the night before. Right? Maybe you just can't read the market well for a given reason or another, right? These are things that are very important to me. So I'm going to explain these and build these out very briefly. A jab. You get in quick, in and out, get a feel for things, gauge your distance, gauge your timing, etc., etc. Basically what that means is on a given day or within a given time, you want to come into the charts and you're just trying to throw jabs, right? You're just trying to get, in and out, get a feel, read the market, understand the timing, figure out your draw and liquidity, right? Figure those kinds of things out. Those are jabs, Throwing a hook, this is when you're swinging for the ropes. This is when you're maybe going for high risk to reward trades. This is maybe when you've thrown enough jabs and you figured out your timing and you figured everything out and the stars are kind of beginning to align. The hook is when you're trying to get in there for some high risk to reward. You're trying to get in there and maybe you're throwing an extra 0.5% risk on the table. That kind of thing, you know? Your jabs are a lot smaller risk. Smaller risk. Maybe you're doing 0.5% risk of normal, and maybe you're down here, I meant to say this is 1.5, 1.5x your normal risk on the table, right? There's two big differences here. This smaller risk, quick, in and out, get a feel for things, hook, boom. So here's the thing. If you feel like you're out of flow, this is the main point. This is what you really need to understand. If you feel like you're out of flow, if your timing is off, if you're losing at a higher percentage than you used to, if you're breaking a rule or two, if you didn't get good night's sleep before, or if you simply can't read the market, you need to be throwing jabs. That's it. You need to be throwing jabs. Period. If you feel like you're in flow, if your timing has been perfect, if you're winning consistently, if you're following your rules, if you feel like when you get into the marketplace, it's going straight to your take profit, it's going to your draw on liquidity, and the marketplace is doing what you want it to do, if that's how you feel, and if you really just believe in your draw on liquidity, this is when you need to be throwing a hook. Straight up. You're in flow, timing's on, winning, following rules, market's going where you want it to, throw a hook. And I'm not encouraging you to over leverage, right? But in a normal 50K account with most of these prop firms out here, you can risk $250, lose 10 trades, equals blown account. In a out of flow scenario, you're throwing jabs. We're going to say like $100 jabs. Get a feel for things. If you're in flow, maybe you're swinging $350 hooks. Maybe you're swinging a $500 hook, right? You're throwing more risk on the table. All of this to say, you have to know how you feel on a given day, on a given week, on a given month, or a given time. And this is all about you. This is how you feel. I can't do this for you. I can't tell you if you feel like you're in flow. I can't tell you if you feel like you're out of flow. I can't tell you when the right time to throw a jab is. And I can't tell you when you should be throwing hooks. But as a general statement, which one do you line up with? Is your timing off? Are you losing? Are you breaking rules? Did you sleep well? Can you read the market? Is your draw on liquidity consistently being taken? If so, I think you should be throwing $300 hooks. If you're in flow, you should be throwing $300 hooks. If you're not, $100 jabs, get a feel for things. If this arbitrarily is what you're using to risk, if you're using $250 risk, this is how I picture throwing jabs, and this is how I picture throwing hooks, and this is just on a normal day. That's how I envision this. That's what I believe the difference is between throwing a jab and between throwing a hook. What you do with that information, you should go test. You should go test your strategy. And when you feel like you're doing well, when you're in flow, maybe up your risk a little bit. Don't over leverage. Don't risk $1,000 a trade. Don't be ridiculous, man. Don't risk $20. That's not worth your time. But if this is what you're risking, $250 in a trade, this is kind of how I would establish a little bit of your risk management. In a normal time, just risk the $250. Just size consistently here with $250. If you feel way out of shape, throw $100 jabs. And if you've never felt more inflow with the market, size up and capitalize when you can. That's the conclusion. It's been Squire Trades. Thank you for joining me here on July 14th, and we will see you guys next time for the next video. Peace.